Jonathan Blaustein shares the inspiration behind the value of a dollar.
Most people just go to the store, buy what they want, go home and eat it, and they don't think a lot about what they're eating, where it comes from, what goes into it, the ingredients, the animals, the distance food travels. And my photographs, I think, were an attempt to raise awareness about how our consumption patterns impact the planet.
Describe the moment that the idea for Value of a Dollar came to you.
One day I just was, driving down the road at 80 miles an hour. Sorry, 75 miles an hour, because I don't speed. And an 18-wheeler drove by with this 20-foot long, perfectly crafted, gorgeous, almost sculptural hamburger, and it just got me thinking, the pictures are so vibrant. They're so beautiful, for lack of a better word, but the food doesn't look like that, and everybody knows it. So I was thinking, well, I know what they tell us it looks like, but I wonder what it actually looks like. What would happen if I went to the store, gave them my money, took the food back to my studio, plunked it down on my table, as is, took it out of the paper, set it down, took a good look at it, and made a picture. What would that picture look like?
Since this is about value, how did your background in economics inform this series of photographs? And then how did it change as a result of the artistic process? How did your ideas of value change?
$1, I think, represents money, a denomination that everybody understands. Everybody's heard of a dollar. So I think that sort of enabled me to create a language of equivalence. That, I think, came from my training a little bit. This idea that each picture equals $1, but it also equals every other picture. Silly looking burger behind me equals a perfect, gorgeous orb of organic grapefruit. This yellow shining sun that is healthy and good for you. That one perfect grapefruit is the equivalent. It equals these 4 beat up looking sad sack grapefruits that I got at Super Save. One grapefruit from the organic store, or 4 grapefruits from Super Save. And ultimately that led me to think about value. Value is a word that has a lot of different connotations. The value of this product is $1, but it's also how we value it.
Sure.
What do we care about? What's important to us?
What would you say you learned about value from creating this series?
I think I learned that society definitely places a higher value on healthy food than it does on, food that's bad for you, junk food. I think that across the board I learned that junk food is cheaper than food that's good for you. There's one picture where I was able to get 10 organic blueberries from California for $1, 10 cents a piece per berry. But at the same time, I was able to get 7 packs of shrimp-flavored ramen noodles for that same $1. 7 packs. Now, I did a little research at the time. My numbers are rough, but it was somewhere around 8 calories total for those 10 blueberries, but around 2,700 calories for your $1's worth of ramen noodles. We don't need nutrition to survive. We need calories. Calories are energy. If you don't have that energy, you don't get through your day. While I was making the project, I learned that we definitely have a problem in this country, I think, about the affordability of food that is good for you. But when you buy food directly from farmers, you can oftentimes get a lot more value for your money. So I wanted to make some pictures that also highlighted the fact that there is a burgeoning movement in the United States where people can get access to things that are good for them without having to go through stores and through middlemen and things like that.
What would you say is the role of the artist?
Artists are sort of the people who process ideas. We take what's going on in the world, we sort of try to tap into the zeitgeist, as they say, and sort of process big ideas, and digest them and then make something, typically visual, but not always, that sort of condenses those big ideas into something that people hopefully can understand, can connect to. The idea took off, the pictures went viral, millions of people saw them around the world, and I know that the pictures drove dialogue because I saw it. All that time I was thinking about, what does it mean to be a food consumer in the 21st century? Pictures like the Spanish tea biscuits that I made, where those little tea cookies are coming from 5,000 miles away. I want people to think about the fact that these little decisions that we make ultimately impact everybody, because the choices that we make in the store, impact how much carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere or how many animals are killed at the slaughterhouse that day. I think it's very hard for people to connect their individual behavior to the way the food industry impacts everybody. And so it was my hope that when people looked at the pictures, they would start to think about those things. And perhaps, maybe it might impact the choices that they make. Maybe they buy something local instead of something that comes from 3,000 miles away or 5,000 miles away or 7,000 miles away next time they go to the store.